So the listing said it would be here on the 4th, which sounded about right, probably. But once it was in FedEx's hands, FedEx said it would be here on the 2nd. Come the 2nd, it was still in Fort Worth, and it was definitely not here. So it said it was going to be here on the 4th. Well, the next day, the 3rd, I checked in the morning, that's today, said it was still going to be here on the 4th. Checked about 2 hours later, something like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Said it was out for delivery. Would you look at that? I hate it when I take something out of my pocket and don't put it back. Especially something useful like a knife. Okay. What will you look at? It's a thing. Yeah. Well, I guess that's reasonably smooth of a finish. More or less. Okay. It's a whole lot smoother than the Harbor Freight Anvil, I'll tell you that. Okay, so surface finish doesn't look terrible. Definitely not the smoothest thing in the world, but it's way, way, way smoother than the Harbor Freight Anvil. At least my Harbor Freight Anvil. Taking a look at this. Yeah, the casting definitely has some rough spots. Corner's rough, whatever. This side, Roy from Christ Center Ironworks mentioned on his that it looked like there was some filler on the opposing side over here. And it looks like that's more or less the case for me too. It looks pretty smooth right here. And there's some interesting texture right here. Little ridge there. Can you see that? There you are. That spot right there. Yeah, this definitely is smoother than the rest of the body. Like here, this is pretty rough. This is fairly smooth. Interesting little swoop in this edge right here. Get that line. There, you can see it. That's not a straight line. But it is a hell of a lot sharper than my main anvil, which is good. So what is this, or what's the purpose of this? Well, this is, for all intents and purposes, an actual steel anvil. Yeah. An actual steel anvil that's very reasonably priced. I bought this off of eBay. Now you can get this generally off of eBay or Amazon, either one, but this one I got off of eBay because it was cheaper. And I paid $115, not including tax, for this, free shipping, and it was here in a total of about 5 days, 4 or 5 days from the time I ordered it, which is not bad. It was shipped FedEx and was just dropped off on our doorstep, which is fine. But a 66-pound anvil, you might think from the name it's Italian, but I'm pretty sure it's made in China. And I'm assuming that it was imported into the country before the coronavirus outbreak. So hopefully this thing is not contaminated. And I won't get infected. Fingers crossed. So what are the main benefits of this over the Harbor Freight Anvil? For one, cast steel is a hell of a lot better of a material than cast iron, particularly actual cast steel over gray cast iron. It's not ductile iron. There is a difference, and Harbor Freight is not using ductile iron for their anvil. Number two, it is heavier. That's a good thing. A heavier anvil is a better anvil. Number three, this horn is an actual conical horn, and if it stands up to use, well, just the shape in general is much, 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 much better than the Harbor Freight anvil, which I can't physically pull off of its stand at the moment to show you, but take it from me, this is an actual horn. The other one is really just a contoured hunk of iron and carbon. Is there anything the Harbor Freight anvil has over this one or is better for than this one? Well, the Harbor Freight anvil does actually have a larger, more useful hardy hole than this anvil, but with this being cast steel, it should be far more durable compared to the cast iron anvil from Harbor Freight, which means even though this is smaller, this hardy hole is not likely to break off the back half of the anvil when you use it. Certainly has a much better ring than the Harbor Freight anvil, because the Harbor Freight anvil doesn't ring. But ring really doesn't mean anything. If anything, it really just indicates that you don't have problems with the structural integrity of an anvil, because if a steel or wrought iron anvil doesn't ring, or doesn't ring well, has a weird ring, it could indicate that there is a crack through the body, or that the face is not fully seated. If it's a wrought iron body with a steel face, then that means that the steel face was either welded or forge welded to the body. And if that were the case and it doesn't have a proper ring on the face, then the face may not be properly attached to the body. But most blacksmiths today prefer to silence their anvil rather than let it ring anyway. So what does the ring really mean? Nothing. Rebound is definitely closer to my railroad rail anvil, but with a hammer, a small hammer like this in my hand, testing it from just a couple inches, it's almost not even a difference between this and the Harbor Freight anvil. But I also don't believe Rebound really tells anything about the anvil except whether or not the anvil surface, the face, has been damaged heat treatment wise.
Or if the anvil was made out of too soft of a material in the first place.
There you go. Another way you can test hardness is to actually file on it, and I know that I'm not going to leave it this sharp, and I'm probably not going to be returning it, so I have no problem. Since I don't see any real damage to the face or cracks or anything, I don't have any problem going ahead and starting to modify it. So that in general feels pretty hard and is not filing very much. Like I can file it a bit, but it's really this edge here that I can file and remove the paint off of. But the face itself does not want to file. That says to me this thing is actually pretty hard. I can leave scratches in it, but it's not really cutting it. If you happen to watch my Harbor Freight Anvil video, I actually dressed the edges of the anvil with a grinder, but what I did to the anvil on the edges, I could have done in almost the same amount of time with a file. Now, I'm not talking about the face, just the edges of the anvil, but that cast iron is so soft. It's like working with fully annealed mild steel, just completely soft. This is not. Okay, so angle grinders are really dangerous, right? Like really dangerous. However, this right here is really dangerous, okay? These things are death traps. They are spiky, they are sharp, and they grab anything and... oh, okay, don't freak out on me, but I am going to take my guard off. Do not use this without thinking. And don't get loose clothes anywhere near one of these things. It will grab it. And you are going to have a very bad time, or possibly even die. It's no joke. There's a reason I avoid using that thing as much as possible. Let's see how the seemingly smooth side is. I think it's time for me to get a new wire wheel. I mean, they don't have that much energy, but that's what hit my finger. One of them, at some point. That's not good. My ears are not liking me right now. And I bet you can't guess why. Seriously, I bet you can't guess. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. It absolutely has to do with what I'm doing right now. This is really loud. You know, it actually it has kind of a rustic look, don't you think? Sort of a rustic pitted look. I actually kind of like that, but I don't know how I'd like it for working on it. Put it on top. Turn around. That's a lot heavier than the anvil. Flip it over. The underside should be pretty flat, but flat's not good enough. I'm going to try something Wrangler Star did in a video of hollowing this out a bit. It's taken a while, but it is working. The general idea is to leave a perimeter that's proud, but hollow out the rest of the interior in here so that you have less surface area contact, which can make it more stable on a variety of surfaces. You know, doesn't feel particularly unsteady in that exact spot. So now it's time to try mounting it. Oh, we're not square that way. just going to drill in a little bit. And these are into the really wet ones. Hopefully that won't be a problem in the future. Okay, those are stuck. All the way up to the end. Pleasant. Not as pleasant as it could be, but pleasant. You say this. You say this. That is unacceptable. No, I shall not have bird crap on my anvil stand. It's a piece of square bar. Sorry, square tube. It's actually quite thin as well, but it works. Works very well. So I think it's conclusion time. I've used this anvil occasionally over the last couple months because I haven't done much forging, and I've forged everything from 3/4 inch square bar mild steel all the way to some decent high carbon steel. I think I even did some stainless steel on this, AEBL stainless, and I've also forged hot and cold. I've tried straightening a cold knife blade on it, and I've also forged down into black heats just to see if it has any issues with that. I've dented the anvil face a little bit, small dents from missing the workpiece with my hammer. Those are the only dents I've left. The edge has not deformed, the edge has not chipped, I haven't seen any cracks or anything. It has held up perfectly well under normal, light use, even some heavier use, and I have no problems with it. As compared to that thing, if you want to see what happened to that, go watch my Harbor Freight Anvil video and other discussion videos after that video. Basically, this is cast steel. From my experience, I think it is pretty close in hardness, not composition, I have no idea what the composition is, but in hardness to my railroad rail anvil, and ignore my mess. This railroad rail anvil is hardened. I believe it's something in the range of 1055 to maybe even 5160 depending on its age. That's what I've heard they are. It is hardened, but it will dent. Hasn't chipped on me. Good anvil material, good hardness, works just fine. I believe this to be right about in the same range, maybe even a little better. I'm not sure. I don't think I've used it enough. But the pattern is good. I love the width of the face, if we want to compare that. Okay, so my original anvil that I got really used to working was actually pretty thin. This is a 3-inch wide anvil face. I got used to doing that. I got used to making leaves on this, knives on this. I got used to how to set down over these different radii. I'm used to this anvil, but it's a fairly narrow anvil. The Harbor Freight anvil, by way of comparison, is about 4 inches wide, if not just a little under 4 inches wide. This guy is 4.5 inches wide. But because it's a double horn anvil with this square horn or bick or tapered heel, you have smaller anvils as well. You have a 3-inch wide anvil right there. You have a 2-inch wide anvil right there. You have any number of anvil widths back here for different types of work because of this taper, which is really versatile. The hardy hole is too small. I just think a 3/4 inch hardy hole is kind of useless, especially on a 4.5 inch wide anvil. Like, this could use a wider hardy hole, a bigger hardy hole. Why not? But it is what it is. It's 3/4 inch. I think this is about 5/8 Pritchell hole. I would also rather they were switched so that the hardy hole was up here, because most German pattern anvils, the hardy hole's with the horn or on the same side as the horn. But I really don't have anything to complain about because I don't use the hardy hole very much except to like punch a hole out, and even then I'll put up a bolster plate and punch through that instead, because it's a tighter hole relative to the hole I'm punching, so it's better for shearing out the slug. Beyond that, seems to be decent steel. It's holding up well. It's twice the cost of that, but it's also 11 pounds more and is way better quality. And other than cleaning up the surface of the horn, I didn't have to shape it. It was already usable. The surface finish of the anvil, I think I would rather polish it a bit more, but I'm just leaving it as is. I can see some of the machine marks in my work, but it is hella smooth compared to that thing's factory finish. That was horrible. Beyond that, do I recommend it? Absolutely. I absolutely recommend this anvil. I know it's made in China. I don't prefer Chinese made products anymore, but you can't beat the price, and I mean, it's using a Chinese-made product to facilitate American manufacturing. How about that for a twist on it? Yeah, I like it.